Hello, door openers, and welcome to what I think might be our seventh global online meeting. Our guest presenter today is someone I admire greatly. He is a relentless advocate, a disruptor, and someone who is showing us how dementia care can support a life well lived. But before we begin, please join me in acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we each gather today. For me, I sit in a Awabakal land. So we acknowledge our First Nations people and their deep and continued connection to country and culture. We pay our respects to elders, past and present, to their ancestors and descendants, as well as our own. We also acknowledge our friends who are living with dementia and commit to advocating with them as we strive to ensure that they live a humane, meaningful, connected, and respectful life. So, who is Open the Doors? Open the Doors is a space, for those that are joining us for the first time, Open the Doors is a space to not only express how we feel about the changes needed for dementia and aged care generally, but also a place for us all to share our amazing work with the global Open the Doors online community. So it's a space where we no longer work in silos, where we are connected with global thought leaders, people living with dementia, care partners, family, innovators, disruptors, troublemakers like you all, and designers of new meaningful models of care. So we're going to move on now. We have a few announcements. We have had our group photo, but just firstly, I'd like to ask, help. Can you help us if we are looking for someone that may be able to offer some voluntary editing for our interview series, Chats with Caring Creatives? So if you are an editor or someone that would like to assist there, please get in touch with us. You can do that through the chat or directly to me on LinkedIn or through the Open the Doors email. We're also doing a call out. There's a great article that's just been placed online in Hello Care. So that's an interview with Nicole Smith talking about the founding of Open the Doors and what it all means. And that will be there'll be a link to that article in our next newsletter. And I'd also like to just do another call out. I'm not sure, Nicole, if we've had anyone contact us. We're also looking for more living experience ambassadors to get in touch with us. We need you. And Nicole, how have we been going with that?
No other people have come forward so far, but I remain hopeful and we look forward to hearing from you.
Great. Well, Rhiannon will tell us a little bit more about our next Keys to the Door session. We've had our first one just the other week, which is interactive. There are breakout rooms and lots of robust discussion was had. So that's an opportunity to share your thoughts on a themed topic. Our next one is themed Mind Your Language. So we'll see what that turns up. More about that later. So if everyone could now please put themselves on mute so we don't get any background noise, and we will have a Q&A where we can ask our wonderful guests lots and lots of questions. Now, if you could use the chat for some of those questions, that would be really helpful for us to manage that. However, if you're not comfortable using the chat, feel free to raise a hand and make your comment that way. So if I could introduce the wonderful Dr. Rodney Jilek. So a little bit about Rodney. Well, Rodney's an adjunct professor at the University of Canberra and holds formal qualifications in nursing, health science, health administration, public health and gerontology. He also holds a PhD, well, he has a PhD in gerontology where he's studied the living experience of men entering aged care. Rodney also holds a doctorate in public health after establishing the community home model, a non-institutional model of community embedded inclusive care for elders. Rodney has actively contributed to the international ageing discourse for over 20 years. He has presented in Europe, Asia, Australia, and soon to be, I believe, in Bali. He's currently the Managing Director of Community Home Australia, which is a not-for-profit organisation, which I've personally seen delivering best practice dementia care, supports the Australian Capital Territory. He is the Principal Advisor at Aged Care Consulting and Advisory Services Australasia and a board member of the International Federation of Ageing. So I think he is quite qualified to chat with us today. Now, I'd just like to say on a personal note, Rodney, that I've been inspired by your relentless, unforgiving and fearless advocacy of our sector. And just recently I saw firsthand at your sites in Canberra the way that you are establishing what you believe is the model of care that we should all be looking at. And I'd like to say that what I saw was not only a home, but it was staffed, for want of a better word, by family. The people that you have under your leadership are family, and that's what I saw was the big difference. So, folks, please welcome Dr. Rodney Jilek.
Thank you, Maury, and thank you for the invitation to speak today. This is certainly an adventure that Nicole and I have been on in the last 3 years, and I think the main aim of this presentation is to really show people that there is a practical side to all of this, and it's not as difficult as we are sometimes led to believe by peak bodies and governments. So this is an adaptation of a presentation that I presented at the International Federation on Aging conference in Bangkok a couple of years ago when we first started, and like everything else that Nicole and I seem to touch, it never stays stationary for very long. So it's constantly evolving and constantly changing, which kind of kills us. But it is a testament to a living organisation that flexes and responds to the needs of the people that they serve. I think, just to respond to your words, Maury, I like to think of myself as the enabler. So this is certainly not my project or anything that I've achieved. And while Nicole and I certainly drive this model every single day, it's so much bigger than the two of us. And I get an immense amount of satisfaction from being an enabler. Although for my American colleagues, you would probably be well aware of Dr. Now from his TV show, My 600-Pound Life, where he sees that an enabler is a horrible thing that just keeps feeding these people. I like to think that enabler is something that can also be a force for good as well. So if we can start, Rhiannon, I think you're controlling this presentation, so let's go. So just to give you a bit of background, the model really came out of two things. One was a desire to remove people from residential care, or to stop people having to enter institutional residential care, and the other was a response to the global pandemic, which Nicole and I and a number of other people on this call certainly experienced firsthand. Nicole and I were both nurse advisors down in Victoria when they had their awful outbreak, and we came back from that experience basically saying to each other that there needs to be a better way. There must be a better way to do this. We were both in very large institutional nursing homes. I was in a 160-bed nursing home. We lost 20 residents. They lost their lives during that time. And it really showed the negative aspects of large institutional care. And that was something that we wanted to change. The model is very much a registered nurse developed and driven model, although it depends very much on a multidisciplinary approach, and is really looking to keep people connected to their community and deliver true person-centred care. So what we've seen in residential care in Australia is very much lip service to Kitwood's person-centred care. Everyone says they do it. The reality is that it's near impossible to do it when you're trying to care for 100, 200, 300 people in one building, and you're not staffed and resourced appropriately to actually do that. So that was a big driver for us, was to see how we could change that model in the community. We started off very much as being a specific younger onset dementia service. That was our goal, because they were the people that immediately were in front of us and being shipped into residential aged care. But what we've now found is that the principles of the model are applicable across a whole range of people. And so we're now getting inquiries from people living with all sorts of diagnoses that see value in the model and how we can deliver that in the community. So next slide, please. One of the big things that I guess is different from our model to a lot of the others that are out there is that when people develop these things, they tend to be siloed. So there's often a financial benefit behind something like this. And so even in Australia, we've seen a number of different models come out in recent years where everything is trademarked, everything is copyrighted, and the end intent is to actually sell that model and make money. And we wanted to approach this very, very differently. So we looked at all of the fantastic work that is done around the world. And there's an enormous body of evidence around the world and fantastic projects. And we looked at each of their values and tried to incorporate the values of those models into our models. So this is not about creating a be-all and end-all model that everyone must follow or is the best one to follow. It's an amalgamation of decades and decades of work across the globe and put together to try and come up with something that works in Australia, but can also be adapted across the globe. So we didn't want to be seen as these magic unicorns that, as Nicole likes to say, that come up with this model that no one else can replicate. We want people to replicate it. We freely share the knowledge that we've gained, and we're happy to work with people to share our findings and the experiences of our people, so that you can take this model and adapt it to your country and roll it out. So it's not a model that's hugely asset intensive like residential aged care in Australia. It can be done in a standard renovated house. So it is easily replicatable. Next slide, thank you. Oh, that's gone interesting. Okay, so this is the community home model, and it's based on these pillars: respect for the individual, independence and deinstitutionalisation, enablement and support through practice and IT, community connection. And from what I hear from a lot of people around the world is that the community connection is the difference between us and a lot of the models that are out there, and particularly models that have been around for a little while. We wanted to be different than the segregated model of a village. So we wanted to move beyond that and have an embedded community model where people could continue to live their lives in their community. Expertise and specialisation, and the final pillar is staff value. So if we can have the next one. Yeah, okay, respect for the individual. So what we've tried to develop is a culture, an organisational culture where there is an underlying principle of respect for those that we support, for those who support others. Really, in simple terms, it's very much a relationship model. So we provide the resources that our team needs to be able to have a relationship with the people that they serve. And that's something that institutional residential care just can't do. You cannot have a relationship with people when you've got 10, 20, 30, 50 people to look after, and you've got a list of tasks a mile long that you need to tick off and get through before breakfast. And the underlying approach is really a truly person-centred approach where we obviously have rules, but the rules are so flexible that we develop a whole care package or support package that is built around and with that person. So we do things in our homes and in our day centre that I only dreamt of doing in residential aged care, and there's no way that with the legislation that's around institutional care that they could possibly do that. I just will point out the gentleman sitting at the head of the table at the top is one of our rock stars, Gary, who came to us from institutional residential aged care. So this is a gentleman who was living in residential care, was unable to walk, unable to talk, had a zero quality of life, and here he is, out in the community, out with others, enjoying life, and that went on for a couple of years. So that Gary is really a true testament in what can be achieved when we put the person at the centre of that journey. Next one, Rhiannon. Independence and deinstitutionalisation. One of the big things that we like to talk about is we talk about support and not care. And I know next time you're going to be talking about the importance of language, and this is an area where language is really important. Institutional care or institutional aged care is very much set up around a process of someone providing care to someone else. So as soon as you enter that model, you're seen as being deficient in some way and requiring someone to do something to you. The way that we look at it through this model is that everyone is capable of doing things. Some people just need more support than others to get that done. So it's very much not about we do things for you. It's about what support we can give you so that you can do as much as possible for yourself. And that may be just around decision making, all the way through to being able to undertake particular tasks yourself with support. Very much an enablement model, and through our posts we've shown on social media a lot of the situations where our guests are cooking, they're cleaning, they're gardening. It's about providing meaningful engagement for people where they are able to exert their independence and continue to participate in community as an active participant. So this is not about I'm a passive partner that sits in a wheelchair in the corner. It's about getting in there and doing what you can and what you want to do. So these people in these photos here, we are a site for a big festival in Canberra called Floriade. It's a national gardening festival, and we're a site for that every year. So the team plants out about 400 flowering plants and 400 bulbs in our gardens outside our day centre, and that's something that everyone participates in. We have school kids coming, we have playgroup kids coming, the members of Club Kalina participate in that, the people that live in our houses participate in that, and then we have a garden party during the Floriade event. And engagement and active participation is a huge focus on what we do. We deliberately, when we bought the day centre, we deliberately looked for the most in-your-face spot that we could possibly find, because what normally happens with aged care or disability day centres is that they're poked away in some tiny little church hall somewhere, hidden behind, trees and hedges, and we wanted to be in people's faces. We wanted to show that these are active participants in the community, and we invite the community in. So there's people dropping in all the time. We've got the police coming. We've got everyone just comes in. They walk past. They admire the gardens. We've got dining tables outside so people can sit. It's really about engaging with the community.
Rodney, I'll just quickly say, I don't even feel that it's a centre for people with dementia anymore. What we've built is a community centre where everyone's welcome, and some of the people there just happen to have dementia. So we have refugee mothers show up. I don't even know their names. We feed their kids after school. We have people that are lonely, and everyone's welcome. So people need people, and the people that go to this centre are filling other people's cups. People with dementia are filling other people's cups. So you don't look like just a person with dementia anymore. And we collect drop-offs for other charities. We get those clothes ready. We physically drive them there. So Kit Wood would be doing a happy dance in his grave, because we are closing the circle and connecting people back into the community where they belong. And I'll be quiet now.
Okay. Next one, Rhiannon, please. Okay, so enablement and support through IT in practice. One of the big pushes in aged care now is about engaging with IT and the benefits that IT can bring. The issue that I have personally with a lot of these stories that are coming out is that people are looking at IT to replace people. So instead of using a robot to deliver goods or clean or move things, we're looking at using a robot to replace a person and have a conversation with people. We're now looking at fake seals and dogs and cats for people to replace what's missing in their life, which is human interaction. And so what we've tried to do is look at the use of IT and see if we can use that to free up our people to spend even more time building relationships with those we care for. So we've looked all around the world. We've got falls prevention systems from Israel. We've got smart TVs, voice responsive lighting, Wi-Fi enabled medical devices. So we now have medical devices that we can take clinical observations that are automatically uploaded to the cloud that the GP can access when they're reviewing medications or care plans. We use a lot of technology that would normally only be used in larger centres like Webster Care's MedSig, which is an electronic medication management system. But we wanted to put in place the systems that would make the team members' life easier and also provide better outcomes for the people that we support. We looked at an electronic care management system. We really couldn't find one that served our needs, so we built one. And that now allows us to record information and data way beyond what we would be expected to record, but in a way that is not intrusive on the team. They don't have to sit there for days on end recording things. It's very intuitive. It's all at point of care delivery, and very, very easy. Next one, Rhiannon. Community connectedness, and this is the one that I bang on about all the time, because I think this is one of the greatest things that we've ever done. Replacing this idea that the best that we can do is to create something fake. So we don't have fake shops, we don't have fake hairdressers, cafes, movie theatres, we don't have a segregated village. This is one of the most interesting things for me when we started. Was I went out to my network on LinkedIn, and I said to everyone, please tell me if you were going to bring your loved one to us, what would you like to see us provide? And I'm not joking. You could literally look at the responses and you could say, that person works in aged care and that person doesn't. Because all of the people that worked in aged care all came up with buffet dinners, movie theatres, hydrotherapy pool, cafes, all of these things that they're used to seeing in residential care that have been created to mask the real problem, which is the lack of resources. So the difference for us is that our guests participate in their community. So if you want to go to the movies, and I noticed this morning on one of our chats that there's a couple of team members that are taking one of our guests to see Deadpool today at the movies. If you want to go to the movies, you go to the movies and we take you there. If you want to go and get your hair done, we take you to a hairdresser. We don't have a fake chapel where you have, once a month church service. If you want to go to mass or to church, we get you there so that you can meet with your local congregation, you can have that engagement, and it's real. And that they're the things that we've been able to do by identifying individual needs and putting in place the resources that are required to do that. Next one. Expertise and specialisation. One of the things that we wanted to do right from the get-go was not be your average everyday NDIS disability provider. The NDIS, like most government departments, most government agencies, always wants to look at the lowest cost, the lowest common denominator, and is really not interested in exceeding anything, really. So we could quite easily run our services and meet all of the requirements and have no trained staff, provide about a quarter of what we provide, and I could be sitting on a mountain of money piled up to the sky, literally. We have, I often get referrals asking if I want to buy other providers, and they have similar revenue streams to us, and they are regularly reporting profits of $1 to $2 million a year. So the choice we made was, yes, we obviously need to make money. We have to be financially viable. When Nicole and I started this, we were incredibly fortunate that I had some money, and we didn't have to rely on backers and private equity companies and shareholders. So our need for a huge return is not there, and that makes a lot of this possible. But what we now do is the money that we do make goes back to the services that we provide and the people that support the people that we care for. So some of the things that we've put into place is all of the staff undergo specialist training. There's some fantastic courses out there around the world that we get people to do. Senior managers, gerontologists, they're registered nurses. They're people that have a lived experience of providing care and a lived experience of receiving care, which is a big difference. Ongoing mandatory education. Oh, back one, thank you. Programs like we have with the Canberra Hospital to provide acute care experiences to our team, something that normally doesn't happen. With our siloed systems, we don't often get to see what happens in the other areas, so we've tried to do that. Partnerships with universities, RTOs, training companies, and a big part of our organisation is our philanthropic work, and through that, we currently have 2 PhD students that are studying in this area. We provide scholarships for 4 undergraduate students at the University of Canberra, so that's 2 occupational therapy students and 2 nursing students. And we also sponsor the Sarah Cope Award, which is a gerontological academic award at the University of Canberra. So the prize this year for the Sarah Cope Award is actually a monetary amount plus tickets and airfares and accommodation to attend the International Federation on Ageing Conference next September, which is being held in Cape Town, South Africa. So what we are trying to do is embed older people and people living with dementia in with universities and in with the next generation of care providers so that they get to see and experience that aged care is not residential aged care. Because unfortunately, that's all they get to see at the moment. So if we don't show them that there is another reality out there, they are never going to look forward and look beyond what the status quo presents. Next one, Sunil. Our staff. And look, Nicole always hates me using the word staff, and she's very slowly trained an old dog, as she's writing there now, team in capital letters. She's trying to teach a very old dog new tricks. But our team is absolutely phenomenal. We couldn't do any of this without them. And I think one of the best things we've done is we've very much hired on personality trait. So we've gone into this with the mindset that we can teach people anything, and it's actually better that you don't come with all the baggage of residential aged care, and we teach you from the start. And I guess one of the big things that Nicole has very much identified over the last 3 years is aged care relies enormously on people from backgrounds other than Australia. And what we do to these people is when they come to Australia to work, we literally force them to deviate from their cultural norm. So they come from countries that have a deep respect for older people, and they have a very much a cultural norm of caring for their family and their elders. And when they come to Australia, we say, no, you're not going to do that. We put our elders into an institution, and you can't touch them, you can't kiss them, you can't love them, you can't have a relationship with them. and there has to be this boundary between caregiver and care receiver. And that's something that we've very much broken over the last 3 years. So we encourage people to form a relationship, to engage with people on a different level, and bring meaning both to their life and the life of the person that they're supporting. So our team have come from a huge range of cultural backgrounds, and we've actually got flags now out the front of Club Kalina representing all of the nationalities and cultural backgrounds of the team. I think at last count we were up over 20 different nationalities. And what we wanted to provide was an environment and a culture that is incredibly welcoming and inclusive. So we employ people that may not necessarily be employed in other settings, and we work with them to build their skills, and to be able to participate and contribute just as we do the people that we support. In return, and because of the way that we've set up the organisation, all of our team receive at least 10% above award wages. We pay 12% super. We give them 20 days personal leave. We have 6 weeks annual leave for every single person. We've got a coast holiday home. We provide support for education, flexible working arrangements. We're able to do things that the rest of the sector believes that they cannot do, and they can't do them because they have so many competing financial goals that it takes away the money from the people that are delivering frontline care. And that's something that we wanted to put front and centre in what we do. Next one, Sunil.
Hey, Rodney, I'm just letting you know we're coming close to the questions. I'm sure lots of people would like to ask you stuff. Thank you.
No worries. Only got 2 more to go, I think.
Oh, brilliant.
Yep. So Community Home Australia Canberra, we now have 4 residential houses in Canberra. We started just 3 years ago with 1. We've got Club Kalina, which is our day centre and our community program, and it now provides places for people living in the community on the disability program, in aged care, in retirement villages. So we actually have people that come out for the day from residential aged care services, come out and spend the day with us and go back. And the story I like to tell people is that we had a gentleman that the aged care service, the nursing home service, couldn't shower him. So he used to come to us in a day centre and we showered him. So it just shows you that when you have a relationship with someone, you can achieve so many things. The community connection programs are enormous now. We've got multiple intergenerational groups. We've got play groups. We've got kindergarten groups. We've got research being done with a local primary school. We provide support for family and domestic violence survivors. One of our big philanthropic donations is a family and domestic violence safe house that we offer an organisation called Tura Living for free, because one of their issues was that if they have to pay rent, they have to charge people. So we provide that rent free. Roundabout is a company that provides clothing for people in need, and Club Kalina is now a drop-off centre for that program. We do gardening support for the spouses of our guests as well. So there's lots and lots of things happening in the community. And lucky last. And this is our big one. Who would have thought we own a resort. Ashaya Jazri is our first venture overseas. It was an existing mainstream resort that we are now in the process of renovating and making accessible. So Craig and Felton, who are on this call, are our go-to gents in Bali managing that project. Those pathways that you can see in the photo are all new, and it provides wheelchair accessibility throughout the entire resort of 2,500 square metres. So we're joining together to provide support services as well, and a whole range of support services to allow people and enable people with disabilities and with dementia to actually travel overseas. And we've got a number of people already booked in for September and October. They're going to be test driving it, and then we'll be away. We'll be off and away. And Vicky, your question there about the edges, those edges are being planted out with a garden, so there'll actually be a physical barrier along each of the sides all the way around with flowers and plants.
She's teasing you, Rodney. It's a human right to fall over. It's a human right to fall off the side of the path. But yeah, she's teasing you.
Yeah, and it's amazing when we've done posts on this, the number of people that have gone, that looks a bit risky. My work health and safety hat says that, that's not very good. And we just go, do you really think we didn't think of that? So we are putting in a number of things that mitigate risk, including for those that are familiar with Bali and the wonderful Bali belly that you get from contaminated water. We've just put in a comprehensive multi-level water filtration system, which is enormous, and so all of the water in the resort is going to be filtered and drinkable. So even in the showers, and that was an important point for us, because given that we're supporting people with cognitive impairment, I can tell them not to drink the water, but they may well not remember that. So we had to think of ways of mitigating that risk, and that was the easiest way to do it, was just filter everything. So they're the kind of things that we're doing at the moment. The final slide, which I presume everyone is going to get as well, just has some information on us, some articles that have been written. There's many, many more on our website. And we'll also put a link to the Ashaya Jazri website as well, so that you can see a bit more detail about what we've done. But thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with you and show you what this amazing team are doing every single day.
Thank you, Rodney. That was superb, and your work is amazing. Look, there are questions dropping in. Angela Fair, I'm coming to you very shortly, Alwyn, but I just wanted to go back to Angela Fairhurst, who did have a hand raised earlier. Do you still have a question there, Angela, for Rodney? No?
I mean, it's just that here in the United States, you don't have the same kind of legal risks that we do. Like, we do anything, they'll sue you. You do, like, so that's just
we do a little bit.
We're getting that way, Angela. Unfortunately, we're following you guys. But I think for us, the mitigating action that we take is that we engage with people, we identify risk, and then we allow choice. So, and I think that's where providers often fall down, is they either don't identify the risk, or they don't discuss the risk and get consent, and then they leave themselves open to legal consequences. So, everything that we do, or everything in life has a risk. But what we do is we say, these are the risks very clearly. These are the possible consequences of that. And if you are happy with that, we will support you. But we will support you knowing that you understand what that risk is and you are taking on that risk. So that's a huge part of what we do.
We've got a lady who likes to e-bike around the suburbs. She is a savant. She knows every street like the back of her hand. It was three years ago, I used to go, oh, bye, Karen, and think, where are you going? She doesn't know the stop signs. She goes through Woolworths, which is our grocery store during COVID. She didn't use the check-ins, but we just signed a document. If you die, you die. And the daughter's like, I'm happy. If that's how you go out doing something you love. And I know that's a lot, but it's not our choice to stop someone bike riding who's done it for 40 years. And look, she's progressively stopped riding in the last couple of months. But there was times where I was like, oh my goodness, is she going to come back? Does she know? But she's like a homing pigeon. She always comes home. She goes 5 times a day, and you would see behaviours from her not being able to ride, and you would drug her for those behaviours because she couldn't access her e-bike. So we just sign off on a document with the EPOA, talk to the person and say, if that's your risk, you go for it. And we do that with a lot of things. Too many to mention, but that's probably the biggest example.
Right. Thank you so much, Angela, for your question. I'm going to move to Alan, but Penny and Janet have just been asking in the chat about the slides. This is recorded, so you will have access to the recording when the newsletter comes out, and those slides will all be contained in that for you. So thanks for asking for that.
And some people have written to me already about the slides because you're so popular, Rodney. Who knew?
Rodney will be selling the slides.
If you email me, I will send them directly to you at request. I won't do a bulk send out. As long as Rodney's happy with his IP to go out. He pretty much says yes to everything. That's why I work with him. There were some questions that got pinned. I don't know where they are originally.
Oh, yeah, I don't know where they are. I was looking for those.
Alan, I saw some questions come in, but they're not in the thread.
If you want to put your questions in, there's a Q&A as well, or raise your hand. Alwyn, you had a question, my friend.
Oh, I've got more than one. I won't take up all the time. But Rod, just to table for further discussion, I think is what you call it in the Senate. I'd love to hear your thoughts on funding transparency, the real figures, if it's $1 to $2 million profit per home, because that's certainly not what's in, my quality care dollars something. And I think you have the honour of being more hated by Minister Wells than me, which is, probably not a great achievement, and there's quite a few people on that list. But my question's about restorative care and that dignity of risk specifically, Rod. I'd love to know your thoughts, because I've seen many cases now where they're using dignity as risk as an excuse to let older people fall and die, not having physio and allied health, and saying, oh, that's their choice. I don't think it's people's choice, whatever they sign, to not have access to care. I mean, I'm using your analogy. Shouldn't they be able to leave the facility and go and see a physio if they want to and have that paid for?
Yeah, of course. So we actually have a gym inside Club Colina for people that want to be seen there. So we have physios that come in and use that equipment. But we also have people that go out to gyms and see external physios.
Are you giving people choice? How dare you, Rod and Nicole, and everyone else? And dear God, gee whiz, I thought the health system was all anti-competitive or something. And gee whiz, it's I tell you what, you might be onto something. It's almost like other people might have noticed it.
That's a real problem.
That's it for me. We'll chat another time.
Please copy us. We want everyone to copy us. We're not. We'll give you the formula.
I'm not
please,
alone.
Yes.
I want to visit one of them. Thank you so much, guys. Everything you did.
Did you have any more to answer on that, Rodney?
I was just going to say that is a huge problem, Alwyn, is that it's very much a market, aged care, and so everyone is competing against everyone else. They don't want to share things, and they don't want to let people in because they will see that the glossy brochure isn't what it's actually like. We've had people from overseas come to visit us, and they've tried to get into some of the bigger players, and they won't let them in. So because they don't want their secrets out there, and we're very open about that. We don't get everything right, and our model is not for everyone.
Well, look, I did the same thing. I shared our allied health assistant restorative care model at the Senate publicly a couple of years ago, even though I knew everyone could copy it. I didn't care. I mean, it was the same as you guys. You just go, look, if you're trying to help older people, what does it really matter? I mean, really, if you've got enough people come to you, you don't need to make everything about commercial benefit and competitiveness. That's, again, when we're giving medical advice, we're not supposed to do that. We've got to declare interests, all the rest of it. So I just don't get why this is still even a radical concept that should be standard. So yeah, more of that, guys. More considered shit stirring, Rod. I've been saying it.
We don't overthink it anymore. We just do it.
Good on you. Keep doing it. Keep doing it, everybody. Okay, keep it up. It's working.
We've got a few thanks, Alan, and really that's why we're all here at Open the Doors, to open the doors to all of that sharing information as well, and better practice, as I call it. Look, we've got 3 more questions. I've got Susie Singer-Carter. I'm going to jump to Michael Page and then Jason Burton. I think we can fit you all in. Susie, what have you got for us?
Hi there.
Hello.
Okay. Hello. I love this, everything about it. I'm signing up for myself now, okay? I'm being Bali.
You're full.
Yeah. No. Okay, so help us in sorry about my dog. Help us in America. Like you have explained to us, do you have one payer system? And is that how it works in Australia? We don't. I'm wondering. And if you do, even with that, how do we make this model attractive enough to the system so that we can get, so that isn't just for private pay, right? So that we can get people, everybody, to be able to have this kind of care, because this is the kind of care everybody needs and deserves and should have. And so, I mean, you didn't miss a lick. I mean, it is gorgeous. But it breaks my heart, because I think as I'm doing my documentary, how do we get them to adopt this and see that and get the greed out of the equation, right? Yeah. So help us if you have, open the doors for that for us, so that we can copy you successfully, because that's what we want to do, right?
And the more,
so
sorry, Rodney.
We started off very much only delivering to people on our National Disability Insurance Scheme. We then moved to assisting people that had aged care funding, and we've now just taken our first person who is user pays. So we're broadening the availability of what we do. A big part of Bali and Indonesia as well is that we can also provide opportunities for people that don't have a lot of money, because the cost of living over there is much, much lower. So our next big project is looking at longer term accommodation and care in Bali, so a retirement village type scenario, but a retirement village that can provide full nursing home care or long-term care within that model. And we're looking at entry contributions as low as $100,000. So for the US is, what's that, 60,000, 50,000. So that opens the door for a lot of people. Whereas in Australia, to get into a retirement village in Sydney now, you're looking at 800, 900, well over $1 million to buy a unit. So, they're the kind of things we're looking at, is how can we make these models financially viable, but at much lower rates, so that people that don't have $1 million sitting in the bank, or have a property that's worth $1 million to sell, how can they do this as well? Oh, there we go, 98,000.
Wow. Thank you, Susie, for that question. Thank you, Rodney. Look, we've got Jason's had to leave, unfortunately, so we'll get him to email his question in. Michael Page, did you have a question?
Yeah, sorry. I guess my question, I completely agree, Rodney, with what you're saying about the the impossibility of providing person-centered care in institutions, and I educate in institutions, and I talk about person-centered care, and then I say, by the way, that you have absolutely no chance of putting this into reality when there's 1 or 2 members of staff on an afternoon shift. So my question is for the infiltrators, or as Alwyn would say, shit stirrers amongst us, who are inside the system, and let's face it, most of us are or have to work within residential aged care, within institutionalized aged care. What can we do? Do you believe there is any chance that those 100, 120 bed facilities can adapt some form of person-centered care and open the doors and not segregate people on the basis of diagnosis, at least?
Yeah, look, certainly, and that's what we've said to a number of aged care providers that we've spoken with, is to say, look, the reality of you implementing this model in your institution as a whole is next to nothing. But that shouldn't stop you, because there is much of it that you can implement. Because when it comes down to resources, a lot of the decisions are choices. You know, do I, as an organisation, have a multi-storey, flashy central office in the main street of the Sydney CBD, or do I have a smaller office out in the burbs that's going to cost me a fraction to buy, rent, operate? They're questions that we asked ourselves, and it really was a choice of, where do we want to spend our money? Everyone has a finite amount of money. Even we don't have, bottomless buckets of money. So we have to make choices, and a lot of it comes down to what choices do we make. A lot of group residential facilities or residential groups, they are so big and so spread out that it requires multiple layers of senior executive management, because they don't empower the people at the site to actually make any decisions or do anything, and they don't empower them in terms of resources. So we'd rather pay someone $250,000 to sit over the top and visit once a month and go, you're not doing the right thing. So, these are all choices that organisations make. And we have to get back to a focus where our money goes to where it's most needed, and that's not in a head office or a corporate office. We've just seen the Aged Care Day, where we celebrate the delivery of aged care services and direct care workers, and then you see photos of some lavish dinner held at Parliament House, and the only people that are there are senior executives. So that's not about embracing the people that do your work. We shouldn't be thanking them one day a year. We should be giving them the resources to do their job, so that at least they can do something, and they get the benefits of being able to do a good job, and they don't have to come home every day and go, gee, I wish I could have done that.
Thanks. Thank you so much for that question. That was great, Michael. And they're the sort of discussions I love that we have. And Rodney, I think I was going to ask about enablement, but I think you've just answered that beautifully, with, everything coming down from the top seems to dry up the bottom. Rodney, thank you so much for your time. I'm afraid, folks, we're going to have to press on. Please, big round of applause for Rodney.
Thank you.
And of course, to the team that you enable, Rodney. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand over very shortly to Rhiannon. Actually, I'll hand over to Rhiannon now. And Rhiannon, I believe we also had news about a website coming in August. This is what I heard.
Yes, maybe Nicole can shed some light about the website. We've been working very hard behind the scenes on that. Nicole, when do you think the website will be out?
Well, we've asked for everyone to have their submissions back for the blogs by the 18th of August, and we're building furiously behind the scenes at our website that is purely donated and purely run on volunteers, and it'll have a submit here button. So any global resource that you're part of, you can share it with us and we will do all the work and put you on that resource. And there will be the latest news, what's happening with OTD, and I should have it ready for the Bali conference on August 27th. So it's very exciting. And we've done all the work for you. All the guest speakers so far have been invited as the first blog. And then anyone after that, we will collect all your wonderful information and share it with the world. So it's a really good platform to get recognised for the work you do and speed up this business of evolving together as quickly as possible.
Beautiful. And that's great. And there's so much work going on in the background. I know Cigar is on to that. So I really look forward to having our global Open the Doors website, which will be fabulous. We can share everything. So, Rhiannon, what are we going to finish up with?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say thank you to Rodney for sharing your story from managing a 160 people nursing home through the pandemic to coming up with this amazing Community Home Australia model, which has been an honour to work under and work with you through, and has provided all of the team and me personally amazing opportunities. So just thank you for being a great boss, first of all.
Star rating? Does Rodney have a star rating?
And thank you for pointing out as well the importance of supporting people over caring for them. I think language is really important to remember as it shapes our perception of what and who we are talking about. And speaking on language, our next Keys to the Doors meeting will be on Tuesday, the 27th of August at 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And as Maury mentioned in the beginning, the theme will be Mind Your Language.
Ooh.
Where you will get to chat about what words wind you up and what other words you would replace them with. Our next Open the Doors meeting will be on Tuesday, the 10th of September, where Moira Welsh, who is a journalist and author of Happily Ever After, will be giving a presentation on healthy, happy aging differently in a residential and care environment. And that will be at 9:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time as well. So thank you everybody for coming today and looking forward to seeing you all at the next sessions. And thank you, Rodney.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Rodney. Wonderful
Thank
meeting.
you. Great session. Thanks.
And
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Over and
Bye.
out.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.